As spooky season draws closer, I can't wait to start making little ghosts and ghouls. Today I'm making a creepy cute button-eyed ghost girl, trying out some new techniques and some materials that might surprise you. But when you're bead jointing a doll this small, how do you make all those knots disappear so the result is creepy cute without being messy and monstrous? I've made the head and body from basic white quilting cotton. I've used crimped viscose fibre to stuff the pieces. I've had the viscose stuffing for a long time, but I just tried it out for the first time last week on a vampire doll and it worked really well. The supplier I bought this from unfortunately doesn't stock it anymore, which is such a shame as it's so nice to work with. It's a very clean white fibre, so it'll give me the ghostly effect that I want for this doll. I'll be needle felting a new hair fibre into it, so it'll be interesting to see how that works. I've already stuffed the pieces for the limbs, but I've left the ends open for now. I've been experimenting with a new bead jointing method for a neater finish. That will all start to make sense soon. I'm using the thread from closing the upper part of the leg to stitch through the bead for the knee joint. I've got some large metal beads for the knees. The thread I'm using is Gutterman Top Stitch, which is a strong polyester upholstery thread. I pass the thread through the bead, stitch through the corner, and then back through the bead again and secure it with a couple of stitches at the back. I try to get as close to that top seam as possible so the stitches will be mostly hidden underneath the bead. I close the lower leg piece exactly the same way with ladder stitch and join the two parts together, making sure the seams are on the same side. I check where the stitches are on the upper leg piece so I can match them up on the lower leg. I don't want any stitches at the front that will show when the knees are bent. I'll do this the opposite way on the other leg so they mirror each other, with the side seams running down the insides of the legs. The neck is a fixed joint. I ladder stitch all the way around so it's nice and secure. It can be quite tricky to pull that needle through, so the hemostats come in really handy. I'll put a link to where you can get these in the description. They really are a must for doll making. Next, I attach the shoulder bead to the top of the upper arm. These pieces are tiny, so to keep it looking neat, I pass the needle up through the arm from the open end and bury the knot inside. Like before, the thread goes through the bead and back, but then instead of anchoring it here, I'm going to pass the needle back through the arm and use the same thread to close the open end. I bring the needle through the fabric just above the seam allowance, then tuck the ends in. This gives me a nice neat edge to ladder stitch across. I fasten it off with a couple of tiny stitches. Then instead of cutting it, I use the same thread to attach the bead at the elbow. I join the hand and the forearm the same way. I don't know if any other doll makers do it this way. I kind of came up with this method through trial and error. When you're working on something so small, you have to get creative with where you hide stitches and knots. There are always going to be a few small stitches showing here and there, but I do try to minimise them. I hate leaving visible knots, so the more I can keep those inside the doll or under the clothing, the better. I bury the knot inside the forearm, stitch through the elbow bead and then continue the same thread down through the arm to close the wrist end and join it to the hand with another bead. If you're finding this video helpful, please don't forget to hit that like button to let me know. You can also subscribe if you like so you don't miss the next one. I'm painting some shoes in light grey acrylic. As usual, I've added a bit of fabric medium to the paint. Last time I did this, I got a little dab of paint near the top of one of the legs, so this time I'm being extra careful. I'm adding a glittery top coat to the shoes. This dries clear with a subtle silver sparkle. The legs are attached to the body with a simple hinge joint. I'm going to be giving her some fixed underwear, so I'm not too worried about hiding knots and stitches here. I don't want to pull the thread too tight, it needs to be loose enough to allow for a good range of movement. I'll fasten it off at the side of the hip. That's all going to be covered by clothing. The arms will be attached to the shoulders later, after I've added the dress. At this point, I like to shade the eye area with some high pigment coloured pencil. The ones I use are Derwent Colour Soft. These are quite smudgy, so I add a coat of fixative spray and let it dry while I work on the clothing. She's going to be dressed all in white lace for a ghostly ethereal look. I've made her a lace bodice and bloomers. I want to add some frills above the elbows, so I'm gathering up some lace trim with a running stitch. This is really simple, but it looks so effective. It'll just need a few stitches to secure it to the arm. Now the fixative should be dry enough to work on the rest of the face. I've chosen some pale grey resin buttons for the eyes for a mysterious faraway look. I stitch right through to the back of the head with the top stitch thread and a 9cm doll needle. I want the buttons to sit nice and tight to the face. The anchor points will be all covered by the hair. The line detail on the face is all done with Derwent Line Maker ink pens. I add a little shading to the mouth with coloured pencil, blend with the burnishing pencil, then I'll give it another spray with fixative so it's not going to smudge or wear off over time. I've made her a simple skirt with a double layer of white lace. I'm attaching the arms just below the point of the shoulder with a couple of loose stitches. This time the knots are hidden under the back of the bodice. The fibre I'm using for the hair is called Rami. It's actually made from nettles, but it's so soft and silky. It's hard to believe it comes from such a humble plant. Rami fibres are much longer than bamboo and a little bit thicker and stronger, but the way it catches the light, it looks almost translucent. As usual, I'm needle felting it to the head with the clover tool and 3 38 gauge needles. Always choose good quality felting needles, the ones I use are Heidi feathers. The Rami is felting quite easily into the viscose stuffing. I keep adding more in overlapping rows until I cover the whole scalp. I want to keep her hair quite long, but it just needs a quick trim to tidy up the ends. I found a cute little moon charm for the necklace, which looks perfect on a length of satin ribbon. I think that's all she needs. If you'd like to see more creepy cute dolls, check out my Halloween playlist on screen now, and I'll see you next time. Bye!